probably wondering exactly what happened to Heather in the possessed ending of Silent Hill 3, and I think I have the answer for you today, so let me go ahead and break it down for you. So to achieve the possessed ending, you have to meet a certain amount of requirements before the end of your playthrough. You have to achieve an insane amount of damage intake. I think it's about 2000% damage from enemies that you must take by the end of your playthrough. And you also have to have an insane kill count. You have to kill a whole lot of enemies before the end of your playthrough. And the third and final thing is when you're in the confession booth, you must forgive the person in the confession booth. And I'll explain to you why these three factors are important to understanding why this ending took place. So there are multiple characters throughout the story that mention what gives the god that Cheryl will eventually birth its strength and its power, and what hastens its birth process. One of those things being hatred and anger, which could be deciphered into the amount of enemies that you kill throughout the game. There's even a section in the game in Vincent's library where he mentions that Cheryl is a monster that just snuffs out these monsters' lives from under her heels, and that she gets off on killing everything in sight. That could be a nod to what's actually going on. Cheryl could be just angry and full of hatred for these monsters, to be killing an insane amount of them. Whereas in a normal playthrough, a lot of people would probably just run past a lot of these enemies, because lots of them are easily avoidable. And most people probably have an ammo conservative mindset when entering the game. And as far as the damage intake goes, to take an insane amount of damage, which you'd honestly probably have to do on purpose, and just let things beat you down for a while, that could be considered pain and suffering. And the insane amount of pain and damage that you would have to take would make, ultimately, these two things combined are all nutrients for the god in Silent Hill 3. And also, to explain the confession booth scene, that could be deciphered as you have two options when you're in the confession booth. You can either choose to forgive the woman in the confession booth or say nothing at all. Cheryl Mason in the game is supposed to be described as a person who's trying to fight back against the god that's within her. She wants to destroy it. But let's say, just in another world, in this ending, you've already took all this damage, you've already took all this pain and suffering. By this point, the god is so powerful within you that the only reason that a normal, sane person would ever answer the confession booth lady is if they felt like a godlike sense to themselves. Like they had the authority to forgive the person, to pretend to be that voice that they needed to hear. So in other words, it could be deciphered as the fact that Cheryl Mason answered the confession booth lady was her accepting her godhood. And it's also worth noting that even in the normal ending of the game, after you kill the god and Cheryl mourns over her father, when she stands back up, you'll see her turn around looking back at the god, and she'll have like a shocked expression on her face. Now this is important not for the normal ending, but it does make sense in the possessed ending, in the sense that if something happened to Cheryl Mason in that room, it makes sense with the expression on her face. And considering that in the normal version, the god would not be as powerful. He hasn't had nowhere near as many nutrients through that playthrough as you would have given him by putting Cheryl Mason through everything that you did. And therefore, the god probably was strong enough to have a second wind in this version, just enough to possess Cheryl's body and literally become the god of Silent Hill, and basically Claudia wins. And it's also worth noting that in the normal ending, the other world is not present when she goes and returns to see Douglas. During this ending, you can see that the other world is still around, which means that the monsters of Silent Hill have not went away, and that Silent Hill basically won. So that's my best explanation on what happened to Cheryl in the possessed ending. And if you'd like me to cover the revenge ending, or even the normal ending at some point, let me know in the comments below, and also, let me know what you think about this theory. And I hope you all are having a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.